I, 32 female, have been with my wife, Ava, 34, for 8 years now, but we've been married for 5. She was a single mom of 3 kids when we started dating. She had 2 daughters, now tweens, and a son, now a teen. I've watched these kids grow up. I've read the bedtime stories, done bath time, the first days of school, PTA meetings, all of it. I consider them my kids, and they've been calling me mom for almost 6 years now. My brother Ivan, 28, had a baby girl with his fiancée, Sarah, 27. I love my niece, and my kids adore their cousin. My kids have been the only grandchildren on my side of the family since Ava and I got together. There's never been a moment where the kids and my wife were treated like they didn't belong. My brother's their uncle, and my mom and dad are their nana and pop. The kids see my family as their family, and I always thought my family felt the same way about them. The kids and I were hanging out at my brother's house, and my parents ended up dropping by with gifts for my niece. Ivan laughed when he saw the toys and told our mom and dad that they would spoil her rotten. My mom said since my niece is their first grandchild, of course they have to spoil her. My kids were sitting in the living room with all of us, and my youngest daughter looked hurt when she realized what my mother had said. My son and middle daughter didn't fully react to it, but I could tell it bothered both of them too. Sarah spoke up and said, "Oh, you mean first grandbaby, not first grandchild." My dad shook his head and replied that my niece was their first grandchild. I didn't want my kids to keep sitting there and listening to that, so I handed my son the keys and told him to wait in the car with his sisters. When they were gone, I asked my parents why they'd say that my kids weren't their grandchildren, and my mom said they couldn't be their grandchildren because they weren't really my children. My wife and I were going to be hosting Thanksgiving at our house this year, but I told my parents that if they didn't view my kids as their family, then they could just host a meal at their own house with their real family while I spent the holiday with mine. So I left before they could say anything else to me, and my wife and I have reiterated to the children that they will always be my kids, and I will always be their other mom, regardless of their DNA. My brother's angry at me because he thinks I reacted too harshly and that I should try to see where my parents are coming from. My mom texted saying that she and my dad love the kids, but they still aren't their grandchildren, and she hopes we can understand that because she doesn't want this to ruin my niece's first Thanksgiving. I have yet to reply back. I meant what I said, but I'm worried that I am reacting too harshly. Nope, these kids right here ain't nothing to us. Wow, you are not the idiot, OP. Your sister-in-law, Sarah, is a rock star. She tried to save that fumble. Your parents should have picked up on that, caught that pass, and saved the situation. Instead, they doubled down and argued the point. That's extremely unfortunate, and I'm sorry. God forbid you ruin Thanksgiving for the newborn, who would definitely rather not go and can't eat any of the food. They're just digging themselves deeper, aren't they? I was the child who was told I wasn't really family once someone biological came along. It's been nearly 20 years since that moment, and I still remember it as if it was a second ago. Yeah, I was thinking, when did baby's first Thanksgiving become a thing? Your parents used your children as their stand-in grandchildren until the baby came. If your brother didn't have a kid, they would still be the grandparents they were. They said that in front of your kids, basically telling them their time is over. That means they've really only considered your kids some twisted consolation prize this whole time. And as if that wasn't heartbreaking enough, they decide it's okay to say this with your children in the room? That's absolutely vile. And even if they apologize and backpedal, I'd think twice about the level of contact and intimacy they're allowed with your children. Your brother, now a parent himself, who has a relationship with your kids, is basking in the love and attention your parents are showing him. You did exactly the right thing, and don't let anyone lead you to believe otherwise. I have 4 kids, Carmen 32, Elisa 28, Michael 26, and Andrew 21. Carmen and Michael are both lower class. Carmen is a single mom of 2 and works as a nurse. Michael and his wife are teachers and are expecting their first child. Carmen makes $100,000. Michael and his wife make a little over $100K combined, and we live in California near the Bay Area, where $100K is considered low income. Elisa is a nanny for an extremely rich family. I don't know if she's considered live-in because she lives in a separate house but on the same property. She makes $250K per year plus bonuses, doesn't pay for rent or utilities, and rarely buys groceries because she always eats with the family. They bought her a brand new car, and they pay for her gas, maintenance, all of her medical, dental, vision, etc. is 100% paid for by the family. Heck, they even pay for her gym membership and her vacations. She's worked for them for 2 years now and recently bought a rental building in cash. She's doing very well for herself. Michael and Andrew just asked me for money. Michael needs $30K for part of a down payment for a townhouse, and Andrew wants $10K so he can graduate with no debt. I told them to ask Elisa for money, not me, that she could easily afford to help them out. Elisa called me the other day, asking what I said to her brothers, because now they're both asking her for money. I told her what I told them, and she yelled at me for volunteering her to help with her brother's expenses. I told her that I never said she would help them. I just said that she easily could. She said she doesn't feel comfortable loaning money to her family because she doesn't want to risk their relationship if they don't pay her back. I told her it shouldn't be a big deal if they don't pay her back because we know her Christmas bonus will be close to double what her brothers want. Plus, if she says no, she could potentially risk her relationship with her brothers because she can't afford it. She hung up on me and hadn't spoken to me since then. So I wanted to know if I was the idiot. You are the idiot. You basically reviewed your daughter's finances and deemed that she could afford to give thousands of dollars to your children without even speaking to her. You could have simply said no to your sons. Instead, you created family drama among your children. If I were her, I wouldn't share any of my business with you again. You seem to hold her success against her. She worked her butt off and made sacrifices to plan for her future. Working with wealthy people is exhausting. They are demanding and fickle. Kids are work too. Ugh. OP also never addresses if she could afford it. I don't know about you, but I sure as heck wouldn't be asking my parents for $10K, let alone $30K, because I know full well they don't even have it if they wanted to. OP's response was just, ask your sister, not me. Not, I don't have it. Yes, and OP is ignoring that this job is likely short-term. If she doesn't plan ahead in a year or two, she could make significantly less. This is just something extra because siblings are not obligated to lend money to each other. And what the mom did is divert guilt to someone else and foster resentment. Congrats on creating a huge family rift. OP, you are devious, sneaky, and resent your successful child and her employers. Apologize to her and either help or don't help your younger kids, but don't sick them and their demands on her. She doesn't deserve to be penalized or dragged down into the crap bucket for what she's doing, though clearly you think she should be. I was having dinner with my best friend in a popular restaurant in our city. It's one of those pink, full of flower restaurants, those aesthetic ones. While sitting there dining and minding our business, a couple dressed as bride and groom comes in. Apparently, they were having their day after photo shoot around downtown and stopped at the restaurant to take pics because of the aesthetic. Now, I didn't particularly mind their presence. They did their thing. I started getting annoyed when the photographer asked us to move seats for around 15 minutes so he could photograph the couple at the booth we were sitting at because it's one of the most famous parts of the restaurant. We kindly declined as we were already dining, leaving a table full of meals. Plus, the restaurant was packed, so only a couple of really small tables were empty for us to sit at. The photographer kept insisting that we should pause for a while and do this favor for the newlyweds. We kept declining. Then the couple stepped in and both started begging us how special it was that they took pictures there. My friend and I said we understood it might be special, but this is a restaurant. They don't own it and can't just have people move seats like that. The groom yelled and asked the manager to step in and move us. However, the manager declined since we're not getting any share for having the restaurant used as a photo shoot place. He also defended us by saying that he won't move paying customers so that the couple could occupy the place for free. The bride was tearing up and said how we were heartless for ruining this for her and making her upset one day after her wedding. They eventually left. My friends and I felt no shame for what we did, but when we told our other friends, they said we lacked compassion and it was just a nice gesture and we should have done it to make someone happy. Am I the idiot? What the heck is day after wedding photo shoots? This is getting out of control. Not the idiot, OP. And you did the right thing standing your ground and not moving. The manager did the right thing also. If the bride and groom wanted photos in the restaurant that badly, they should have made plans to do so and arranged with management before just rocking up and expecting everyone to accommodate them. Interrupt an expensive meal for 15 minutes? Did they offer to buy your meal? Anyone who expects people they never met to stop whatever they're doing and stand on pause out of sight to appease them is an entitled idiot. Many venues would charge to have a photo shoot in their establishment. It's unreasonable to show up in the middle of a crowded restaurant and ask everyone to accommodate you without notice. Context. All of this was said in therapy, with only adults in the room, and for over a month I was asked to be more honest. Background. My mom died when I was little after her pregnancy with my little sister went terribly wrong. That day I lost my mom, and the little sister I'd been so excited to meet. My dad and I never had the best relationship, and there was some added strain after we lost them. He remarried 2 years later. His wife had a daughter who was 5 at the time. Before my dad, she never had a father figure in her life. She was an only child also, with no extended family, and never had much stability. Because of this, she really looked up to me. While they were dating, my dad and his wife talked me up to her and led her to believe that I wanted to be her big brother and that I already loved her and was so excited to have a little sister. This was not true. I was enraged that my dad thought I'd sign up to be a big brother to just any kid, just because I had been excited about my little sister. Present day. My dad and his wife decided that the 3 of us needed therapy together now that I'm nearly an adult. Ever since they got married, they've waited for me to step up and cherish her daughter and treat her like the baby sister I always wanted. But I've never wanted to be her brother, and I've never wanted her as my sister. She was not the baby sister I adored and never got to meet. Having her in my life didn't make up for it. My dad has said it did make up for it for him, that he poured all his love for my sister into his stepdaughter, and it made up for not having her. I don't feel the same. My stepsister wants to be closer to me. They know this. They saw that I wasn't doing anything to make that happen, so they brought me back to therapy to figure out what the block was. They asked me for honesty, but I held back for a few weeks because I suspected they wouldn't like honesty. I gave it to them. I told them I did not love my stepsister and that I didn't consider her my replacement sister. I didn't want to be her big brother. I didn't care if they wanted that for me. I never had. I don't hate anyone, but I've never wanted the same things as them. I told them their image of me protecting her from the big bad world, protecting her from boys, taking her with me everywhere I went, hugging her and letting her snuggle close to me, looking out for her and everything was not a role I wanted in her life, and that had not changed in 6 years. They didn't like what I said. They argued back saying that whether I liked it or not, she was my sister and I should do better. I snapped and told them they wanted honesty, and so they needed to deal with it. They said I was harsh. They said I was brutal. They said I was wrong and should be ashamed for saying what I did about my little sister, who adores me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Here's what I tell people. You can ask for my opinion, or you can ask me to repeat what you want to hear. Pick one. She isn't your sister. She's your stepsister, and that's fine. They can't force you to have the type of relationship with her that they want. Your dad failed you as a parent. He did what was best for him to move on from a horrible tragedy, but it doesn't sound like he ever did the work needed to help you deal with the loss of your mom and sister. Instead, he thought finding replacements should be good enough. In addition, your father and stepmother failed your stepsister by giving her unrealistic expectations regarding you and the type of relationship you two would have. Relationships and bonds can't be forced. Ugh, tell me how you feel. No, your feelings are wrong. I'm sad for your stepsister. She got put into the middle, believing the adults' lies that you love her. You also got pulled into it, and it isn't the fault of either of you. Try to see her as just the vulnerable young person she is, not a replacement sister. It's not a betrayal of your mother and sister to be kind to her or to be happy, but your father and stepmother need to listen to your feelings and accept that you have the right instead of invalidating you. My late grandmother gifted her engagement ring to my late fiancé so he could propose to me, as she wanted the ring to stay in the family and she'd always loved him. I wasn't aware this was going on, so at the time it was a very emotional moment for me when he proposed with her ring. We were set to be married this year, but he passed away a year ago after complications relating to his illness. I still wear the ring and I'm not ready to give it up. I plan to always keep it to remember both my grandmother and the man I'd been ready to spend my life with. My brother recently reached out, however, asking for the ring as he wants to propose to his girlfriend. And he said, and I quote, that I'm not using it now. I was upset by this and told him that I wasn't giving him the ring, but he believes I'm being unreasonable. Our parents are on his side in this matter and have tried to tell me that it's been nearly a year now and it's time to let go, and that the ring should be used for a happy event and not worn by me, and that my brother could make happy memories with it. It feels like rubbing salt in my wounds. The way I see it, my grandmother gave it to us not to just keep it in the family, but because she loved my fiancé and wanted him to use it for me. I've told our parents if they want my brother to have a family ring, they can give our moms to them, but they're not getting this one. I keep getting badgered by the family over the ring and how I'm being unreasonable and spiteful, ruining what should be a lovely moment for my brother. I'm far too raw to judge this clearly. Is it so wrong of me to intend to keep this ring? Am I the idiot? Why is he so set on that ring? Is he too cheap to buy his own? If I was the girlfriend, I would be disgusted by my boyfriend. You are using it. It's on your finger. You were proposed to with this ring. That makes it your ring, not your late grandmother's, and certainly not your brother's. Not the idiot. Hard to understand why your parents are supporting this. Is he the golden child? Agreed. I also think it's something to talk about with the girlfriend if he keeps harassing you. Does she want to marry a man who doesn't want to go and get her a ring and just wants to steal from his grieving sibling? My jaw dropped reading this. How dare your brother be so cruel and insensitive? And your parents too. You are a saint for handling it so cordially. No way did you give that ring to anyone else. Your grandmother gave it to you. I'm so sorry about your fiancé. His passing away doesn't mean that the ring is up for grabs. Your family's awful. As a warning, if you ever decide you may not want to wear it, keep it hidden and locked away somewhere that no one knows about. I wouldn't put it past any of your family members to steal it and then claim it's a family heirloom and not yours. Also, get it insured in your name so you have proof of ownership if you ever need to file a police report against theft.